week is actually a Star Wars original trilogy desk. He was a actor, we'll say a voice, in the original film, A New Hope. He's actually Wedge. Yes, and I know Dennis Lawson is Wedge in episodes 4 through 6. But did you know there's actually 2 actors who played Wedge and 2 actors that voiced Wedge in episode 4? And they aren't the same. They aren't the same.
No, they're not, but I knew that.
This guy, his name is David Ankrum. He's also been in Days of Our Lives. He was in that Bewitched spinoff. He's now a talent manager. He's a great guy to talk to, and this is a great interview, which I've been trying to do for a while.
Yeah.
Courtesy of our friend Rick Stanley, who's given us lots of interviews from Christian Simpson to Nick Joseph and beyond. Thank you for that. And this is David Ankrum. He's been an actor, but I guess we start off front and center with his work in Star Wars: A New Hope.
Hi. Good to talk to you finally, huh?
So, which part of the U.S. are you in where you're getting lots of rain right now?
Southern California.
Oh, yeah, you guys are supposed to get tons of rain today.
Yeah, haven't had rain for a long time, so not used to it, but now that's, it's coming in droves. But it changed a shooting schedule for one of my actors on The Heart of Dixie, and he had to make it out there like 11 o'clock this morning. So to location, and one of those last-minute deals. But, hey.
That works.
That's show business.
Yeah.
Where are you? Are you in the mid mountain country, or?
Yeah, I'm in Utah, where we need rain badly.
Yes, you do. Beautiful state. Beautiful state.
Yeah, it's basically turned into spring. So we haven't got enough snow at all this season, and we need the rain and snow really bad.
Yeah, definitely. There we go.
Awesome.
So, how's the radio show?
It's doing pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah, this is going to be one of the final interviews I do before I go on break, because my wife's about to burst any day.
Oh my God! Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
That's fantastic.
So it's doing pretty good, and we've been looking forward to this for a while. So
I know.
Glad it can finally happen.
It did. It is. It's happening now.
Yeah.
So Star Wars.
Yeah. So I guess what we're going to do first is introduce who you are first, since you're a name that people will hear and they'll go, and that is
right.
Who?
David Ankrum. Actor years ago, really, and most of my work was in the 70s and 80s, but in the Star Wars universe, most notably the voice of Wedge Antilles in the original Star Wars: A New Hope. Did a series called Tabitha that same year, actually. I played Adam Stevens, spin-off of Bewitched. Growing up, was starring with Lisa Hartman and Bob Urich. And, I did a lot of guest star work and some films, and segued into being a writer for half-hour shows, Charles in Charge, also a hidden camera show called Totally Hidden Video in the late 80s, early 90s, and some various television I wrote for years, and then segued into becoming an agent. So I'm a talent literary agent. I've also been doing some producing. So I keep reinventing myself over the years, but it's a lot of fun. I came from a showbiz background. My father was a character actor for years. Did a lot of actually sci-fi films in the 50s. Morris Ankrum played Colonel Fielding in Invaders from Mars, the original, and did a lot of work back then. So, and here I am.
Wow.
On the radio show.
Yeah. So once again, I hear my voice in the background, I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit.
Okay. How's mine? Okay, or
I hear you just fine.
All
I'm
right.
just making sure I don't make myself so loud that I hear myself. Okay.
Okay.
See if that's better. Yes. Okay. So I guess the first question we're going to focus a little bit on Star Wars stuff, since you were involved in the first film. So they had Dennis Lawson playing Wedge and so on. Why would they dub his voice. Back then, George Lucas seemed to have been dubbing lots of people's voices. Do you have any idea why he decided to start dubbing everyone's voice as they went?
I believe that Dennis back then had a very thick Scottish accent, and I believe they wanted the rebels to be. I mean, I think it's the good guys and the bad guys, and they wanted them all to kind of have a. I don't know if it's American accent, but just not a specific accent from another country, kind of. So, I mean, that's the take I took from what I've heard. I originally read for, being an actor back then, Fred Roos had cast me in my first movie, Every Little Crook and Nanny, back in '72, got me into the Union and all of that. But he called me in to read for this little sci-fi film nobody really knew about. I read for this droid, and I didn't really even know what a droid was back then, but he said, it's kind of a robot. For C-3PO, I auditioned and put me on tape, and didn't hear anything for months and months, and then that's when they called to come in and work with George and do a voice for Red 2, and that was great. I mean, I only worked a couple hours on that film, and it's really amazing. Here I am talking to you 37 years later, and I did a couple hours work with George Lucas in a sound booth, and it's really incredible what has transpired over the years.
Yeah, there's only a few films in history that you could say, have that much effect on people.
Yeah,
their mere involvement keeps them.
You probably even, I don't know if you were even born 37 years ago.
No, I was not.
You see, isn't that amazing? I mean, it's a generation after generation. It's really incredible. But I'm so happy that I got a chance to do that, and I've got a chance to travel and do conventions and meet all these fans. It's just really an amazing universe. It really is. But yeah, that's the take on the voice.
So I guess
Dennis decided, wait a minute, I can lose his accent. So there goes the other two films for me. But,
I guess that makes sense, because like in the other films, his voice is slightly different. I guess I didn't know he was dubbed over, and then in the other two films, his voice is slightly different. But yeah, he doesn't have his Scottish brogue as he usually has.
Yeah, exactly. It's pretty. He's fine. He's a great actor, and I was lucky that I had that shot at it back then. And also in that one scene, it's interesting because when I went in to do the dubbing, I also did the other scene with the other Wedge, in the briefing room. That's impossible even for a computer. Just that one line, and that was Colin Higgins, who was actually Wedge. And I believe, and I'm not sure of the timelines, some of the fans may know more about it than I do, but I'm not sure if he was cast first and then wasn't available, or Dennis, or vice versa. But one of those scenes, they had to have another actor for Wedge. Not in the trenches, but in the briefing room.
Wow, I did not know that.
So did you know that?
I didn't.
Yeah. I think he's passed away in the last couple of years, actually. I think I read something about that, Colin Higgins. But he did one scene as Wedge, because and I don't never remember the rest of the line, but when I say that's impossible even for a computer, Luke says, that's not impossible, Wedge. I used to blank, 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 blank wombats or something. I can't remember the exact line. But, yeah, that was Colin Higgins, and he did shows and signed his pictures and all of that. But Dennis was, the main Wedge for sure. He's really the one that's noted.
Yeah.
Hey, we're all part, a little bit of part of a bigger picture, which is really fun.
So, one question my wife actually said I should ask is because this show fascinates us. Not that we watch it, but it fascinates us. Is you were part of the freakishly long-running, I guess it's a soap opera, Days of Our Lives. Are you ever surprised that that show's still going, even though you were in it in the 80s, I believe, and that it still continues on day after day? Yeah,
that's interesting. Soap operas. My wife and I used to watch them way back in the day too, when she was, first pregnant, and Luke and Laura, and we used to watch Days. But Yeah, I mean, it's a different fan base, but it's the same kind of, Star Wars has a little of that soap feel too. I don't, it's the characters, I think people get hooked on character and it just goes on. I mean, I was lucky enough to be cast. I think I delivered Marlena's twins back then. That was the one scene I had, which was kind of fun. And those twins are probably, I don't know how old they are now, but they probably have kids of their own.
It's just kind of amazing that it continues going and going and going.
I know. It's like the millennium of our lives. Yeah, it's amazing. But, but a lot of them aren't. I mean, there's a few left. I think, General Hospital and Days, Young and the Restless, but they've kind of fallen by the wayside,
So right after you did Star Wars, maybe while you were doing Star Wars, you did the TV show Tabitha, which is one that, actually, when I was a kid, I did see some of it because my parents quite liked it, and they had it on VHS, I think.
Yes, right.
So as I recall, it didn't run that long. No,
unfortunately, it was one season and out. We had kind of high hopes for it, but then when they slotted it on Saturday night, Saturday night is usually in TV kind of the death night, and we thought, oh darn, but it was, I don't know, we had fun, and it was a great experience for me. It's funny, we were shooting on this Columbia lot, and the sound stage is next to Fantasy Island, and I became friends with Hervé Villachez, who was Tattoo. We used to kind of have lunch together, and we became friends, and it was kind of fun being on that lot, going to work every day and being a part of a working actor. I mean, there's nothing really like it. It's hard to explain, but it's a strange world, and it really is. But it's fun to, and I love television. I mean, it's fun to affect people's lives and give them some joy and entertainment. But Bewitched was such a huge show. I was a big fan of that also, so I was thrilled to get on Tabitha. I was in a little theater group in Los Angeles, a federally funded theater project back then, where we would tour around and do plays in the park and go to prisons and hospitals. And Gigi Perot, who was a child star, was in our company, and her husband was the assistant director on the pilot, and they were looking for Adam. They hadn't been able to find him, and he got me an interview, with casting, and they liked me, and so I got called back. And then the director, Bruce Bilson, whose daughter Rachel Bilson is on Heart of Dixie right now, which I'm dealing with my actor, just this morning, having him get on the set. Well, he liked me. He took me to the network, and we screen tested, and I got the role. It was through theater, and it's kind of a strange business. You just don't know where your little break's going to come. You just keep putting yourself out there and doing plays and whatever you can find to continue your passionate work, and some things fall into place. There's a lot of luck involved too.
Okay. So you've been involved in some of the bigger TV shows in the 80s, like ER, and Murder, She Wrote, and Moonlighting.
Right. And now the ER is interesting. It's not the ER with George Clooney.
No, not that one.
It was the ER with George Clooney, but not the
rendition that he was in.
It was a half-hour comedy with Elliot Gould, and George Clooney was actually in it. But it was an emergency room, but it was a sitcom, and it was very short-lived. But I did an episode of that, and the writers on that. Ornstein and Turteltaub, writer-producers, also produced a pilot that I did called Coast to Coast before that, with Melanie Griffith. That didn't make it to the airwaves, unfortunately. I was starring with her, and they network had changed over right after we shot it, and on NBC, and they decided to do a show called Super Train. You probably don't remember that, or maybe you do, but instead, yeah, that was like 78, so that was like a year after Tabitha. But ER, yeah, I did ER, and Simon and Simon. I was actually another great job I got, a nice big guest star in Simon and Simon, was cast out of one of those plays I did in the park when I was in that theater group. The producer saw me, and I didn't even have to read for it. He just, I got a call from casting to show up and do this role, and I had been in an acting workshop in my early days with Gerald McCraney when we were first starting out. We studied in Hollywood, and it was kind of fun to work with him again. Actually, first time, the only time I worked with him on television. But
so nowadays, you know, they've had lots of talk about, you know, rebooting Murder, She Wrote, and they just canceled that recently, and so on. So since I was barely born in the 80s, what was it like working on Murder, She Wrote? Was Angela Lansbury really that big of a deal back then, or did it just become something bigger than it was?
You know, that's a good question. She was, you know, a wonderful actress. I just worked, I did a guest star role on it, and I was a doctor again. I guess I did play doctors back then. She was kind of, you know, she was kind of a big deal. She came from theater, and she was a big, you know, theater actress, and wonderful actress, a great background, and she, I think there's something about that series that kind of intrigued people, just the storylines, you know, and everyone loves a good mystery, so people kind of got hooked into it. I don't know, you know, what's going to happen with a remake or not. It's hard, you know. It's tough doing remakes. A lot of them, you know,
are terrible.
Just don't. Yeah, it's hard to kind of reinvent the original magic, you know. But they do. I mean, they certainly do it in films.
Yeah. So I guess one more TV show we're going to talk about, then we're going to work into what you do more now.
Sure.
You also worked on Moonlighting with Bruce Willis, and I guess a question that one of our listeners has is, were you surprised that Bruce Willis went from Moonlighting to become a huge, diehard action star that he is now?
Yeah, actually, it did kind of. I mean, he was a wonderful actor, and it was great to work with him. He translated terrifically into that type of a role, but tough to do that back then, to go from a TV, because back then it was, you know, TV or film, you know, it was tough to make that transition. You know, nowadays it's a lot easier, but I was surprised. Yeah, and I was very happy for it, but you know, more power to him. I mean, I'm telling you, it just takes those little breaks in the right place, right time, and you have to have your fans. You know, you have to have certain fans along the way that'll, you know, give you a boost.
So now we're going to work on the transition. So how did you, or what made you decide to want to switch from acting to your writing, producing, talent agent career that you have now?
The writing was just a little more. I'd always written. I mean, even when I was acting, I was trying to, you know, I was in improv shows, and we'd write sketches, and that would segue into, you know, writing a screenplay. You know, most of them didn't see the light of day. Did option a couple of them, but I've always enjoyed the writing. And I hooked up with a writing partner, and we wrote I mean, the acting it's like a roller coaster. There was a kind of a dry spell, and we wrote a spec Buffalo Bill. I don't know if you remember that series. And we got it to Charles in Charge was just happened to be looking for some writers, and they liked the writing style, and the producer wanted us to pitch some stories over the phone to him, and we pitched one that he just loved and gave us an assignment, and we wrote it rather quickly, and they loved it, and there happened to be a staff opening, and they hired us on staff, and it just changed pretty quickly. 1988 for me, in terms of going from being mainly an actor who was writing to full-time writer. And that lasted probably about 8 years. I was working on various shows, and then I segued into writing spec screenplays, and they weren't auctioning a couple of them. So I decided maybe I'll go back to acting. You don't really lose that bug. So I went to my old agent and to talk to her about it, and she said she was actually looking for an agent. And I just happened to blurt out, well, what about me? I'd love to give that a shot. So I don't know quite why I said that, but I was just looking for something, and she gave me a little office, a phone. Didn't have a door, but had an office and a phone, and started making some phone calls, and then I became, on the other side of it. And I asked her if I shouldn't have a literary department. I asked her I'd love to try to work with some writers also, and so she gave me that opportunity. And that was back in 1996. So it's been, I do have I've segued to a door with a name on it. So it's been kind of a long road, but I like this side of it. I miss the creative side, but that's why I've gotten into the literary and kind of putting some films together, which is another avenue I'm working on. So we'll see where that segues.
So now you work with the talent behind the shows. I should say we've worked with some publicists and managers and so on beforehand, but what exactly is involved in that sort of job? Well, what exactly is your role? Is your role to make sure that they show up, or is it to get tryouts, to get roles? What exactly is your role?
Trying to give the actors as many opportunities to audition, to get opportunities to audition for movies and TV. And if they get the job, that's up to the powers that be, but my opportunity is to look out for them and make sure that they're taken care of in terms of that situation. If they get a job, then we negotiate the deal and make sure they get to the set, which I was dealing with this morning. And then that's basically my job. So it's phone calls. It's a lot of internet now. It used to be we would mail pictures off to the casting directors, but now it's emails and internet, sending videos, and just pitching your clients and giving them opportunities. That's really my job, is to give my actors opportunities to get work. And on the writing end, it's the same with the writers. Trying to get their scripts read and produced.
So your job is to give people opportunities and get people to actually read them and look at them, not to fix their image if they do something really stupid.
No, I'm not a fixer. I haven't had to do that yet, but that's usually, that probably the manager, publicist arena. Agent negotiates the deals. Also we bring lawyers in if it's a series deal or some bigger deals. We'll work with some lawyers, but for the most part, it's opportunities and then negotiating the best deal you can for your client and looking out for them. If there is a problem, then you might be part of that team to kind of come up with a solution. Sure, to my benefit to do that for sure.
So do you have any future big projects yourself coming up in the future that you've been working on?
I have a couple of projects. I'm packaging one with. Actually, it's funny how Fred Bruce comes around again. He's executive producing a screenplay that one of my writers wrote, and we're still putting the elements together. It's out to directors right now, so it's can't really talk about it too much, but it takes a lot to put a movie together. So you need those elements, producer, director. Hopefully, maybe you get to a point where you attach a name and bring in some financing. But I had a little luck with a very low budget one a few years back called The Victim, of a grindhouse movie with Michael Biehn and Jennifer Blanc that we put together and got the financing, and it did well. It had its own fan base, but it was fun to put that together. So yeah, I hope for the future. Well, I put a few films together and maybe see what that direction holds. No, I don't know.
So outside of a big Hollywood studio system, how does people get funding for their films? Because we know, if you work for Disney, Disney just chucks money at you. But outside of a huge studio system, how in the world does someone like you get money for their films? Does it just depend on your pitch, or?
We have, for The Victim, there was an independent financer up in Oregon that happened to have some money that wanted to jump in the business, and we got independent financing for that. We were very lucky, but it takes, you say independent-wise, it does take a good package, really. Talent, director, they have to see that it has potential. I've got another one I'm putting together with Don Most from Happy Days, who's also been directing, and he's attached to direct this film, and got a couple of producers attached just recently, and they're going out to some independent financiers, and it's a slow road, but it is kind of the Wild West out there now again. Kickstarter, I know some people have had a friend that raised $30,000 and did her little short through Kickstarter, and we'll see. It's a lot of fun though. It's a lot of fun these days because it is, I believe, opening up a little bit.
Awesome. So we're going to begin wrapping this up. One of the main questions we always ask at the end of interviews is, we'll give you a chance to have the soapbox where you can promote whatever you want to promote. If you want to tell fans anything, if you want to promote like your website or promote yourself on Twitter or Facebook or a future project, you have the chance to promote whatever you'd like to promote now.
Well, that's interesting. Hey, one of the things I wouldn't mind promoting, because I don't have anything quite yet to promote. I have written a couple of things I might promote when they're ready to promote. But my wife is a historical Western romance writer, and she's just published some of her books on Kindle, and so they're doing quite well. Barbara Ankrum, Ankrum, and she'll have a new one coming out in March. But you should, anybody's into Western romance, she's a wonderful writer, and you gotta check her out.
I think we'll put that link up on our site so they can.
I love that.
Do you know if fans are going to get to see you at any conventions anytime soon, or maybe Celebration next year?
It's funny you mentioned Bewitched. There is one coming up September. It's a big Bewitched fanfare. It's at the Sportsman's Lodge in Studio City, California. September, I think it's the 17th through the 21st, maybe. You might find that online somewhere, but it's the Bewitched Fanfare Convention. I'll be there. There's quite a few guests. I think they do have a website you can check out, and you can see some of the guests that are going to be there. You'd be surprised. It should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Do you know if we're going to see you at Celebration next year, or is that just still up in the air since it's a year and
for me, it's still up in the air. I did the one in England, in London, in 2007, but I haven't done a Celebration. Well, there hasn't. The big one is 2015, I believe, right? So
in Anaheim, yeah.
In Anaheim, you'd think since I'm in Southern California, I'd be able to work that out somehow. I hope I get to attend that one. I would like to. So
awesome.
put the word out. Let's get David Ankrum to Celebration.
Let's get everyone the Celebration.
Yeah, it should be a big celebration.
With more Star Wars.
The new film's coming out next year, and that'll be great. Looking forward to it.
So I guess this will be the last question then, since you worked on original Star Wars. What are your hopes and expectations for new Star Wars to come?
I really have big hopes for that one. I really do. I really think that the team that was put together is a good one, and I'm praying that it's meets up to everybody's expectations. But I think I have a feeling it will. I really do. it's probably the most anticipated film in history right now. So not like any pressures on them, right?
Yeah, no pressure at all on J.J. Abrams and Disney because if they mess up once, all it takes is one mess up, and then the fans will crucify them.
I guess they have to go about it without feeling the pressure, but they must feel it a little bit. I just hope it doesn't translate to the screen. I think they're just going to have fun and go with that initial, original, heart feeling and, sense of fun. So
do the best they can and hope the rest of us like it.
Yeah, definitely. And congratulations on
your little one.
Is this your first?
Yeah, it's our first.
Congratulations.
Yeah, he's due any time, so.
Wow, we better get off.
Well, thank you, David, and glad we finally were able to get this done, and this has been fantastic.
All right.